Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and, well, Kamala Harris just made a big mistake that could torpedo her presidential campaign. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, please visit that address in the lower right-hand corner. It's youtube.com/@explainamerica. And when you get there, please hit subscribe absolutely free. It really helps us out. You know, Vice President Kamala Harris is not the sharpest tool in the shed, shall we say. Not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but what she did this past week may be her biggest political mistake yet. You see, there's a number of reasons for it, as Scott Jennings from CNN is going to get into in this video I'm going to show you. She attacked Governor Ron DeSantis right after he had one hurricane and was preparing for another. She attacked him for not taking her phone call, a phone call she hasn't made in 3.5 years for any other storm until her presidential campaign started. And she attacked him on national TV. Now, you're looking at a guy who is probably the most popular and effective governor in the entire nation, and has the sympathy of other people who maybe don't like him so much, but know that his state is facing really disaster after disaster. And so they sympathize with that. She makes it political, and then Biden buries her by saying, no, Ron DeSantis is doing a great job, the Florida governor. Think about that. Think about that. She really got sideswiped by the current president, I should say, by President Biden. I want you to listen to this report on it, this analysis, and then let me know what you think in the comments.
You've both been in the White House when there are events like this beyond one's control. Scott, let me just start with you. I just have to imagine, and Ron DeSantis is set to speak any minute. We'll go there when he does. The campaigns can't operate separately from this. They have to be aware of this. I don't know if they pause for today or tomorrow and let this land, but what do you do?
Well, I think you, in all of your public communications, no matter what you're doing, you have to always show the American people that you have their fellow citizens in your heart. I mean, this is the kind of historic storm that, some people aren't going to survive it. There's going to be widespread property devastation. And you have to just show the empathy that people would expect out of the American president. So that's, I think, campaign communications, number one. Number two, what you can't do is try to insert politics into this. And I think, honestly, this week when Kamala Harris attacked Ron DeSantis as he was preparing for this hurricane, that was a huge campaign mistake for her. She should not have done that. Biden came out and corrected the record, said he and DeSantis are working well together. That was the proper response.
Well, the flip side of that, of course, is what the Trump team and Donald Trump himself have done in terms of information surrounding Hurricane Helene, misinformation. And it did seem that Vice President Harris was trying to point that out with Stephen Colbert. We have that clip. I think we can play that right here.
Have empathy, man. Yes. For the suffering of other people. Have no sense of purpose? If you purport to be a leader, to understand that being a leader means lifting people up in a time of need and not manipulating them.
So to my first question, Kate, how do you navigate this moment? You can't just not campaign with 27 days left.
Well, right. And I think Scott's right. You put empathy front and center. I think if we're talking about not inserting politics into this conversation, I mean, that has unfortunately been what Donald Trump has done from the start here in spreading all of this misinformation, disinformation, confusing people who are on the ground in these areas who need assistance, need help. So for Harris, I think the key here is to allow the government, allow the Biden administration to run the response, which they have been incredibly aggressive about, despite what Donald Trump has tried to say. You've had Republicans from Governor Kemp to Congressman Edwards, who represents Western North Carolina. You've had Republicans come out and debunk some of the lies that Trump has told and say that they've been working effectively with the federal government. So I think, you take a step back today. You don't do the hyper-political campaigning if you're the Harris campaign. You let the government respond, get people the help that they need, and then you reinforce that, in your administration moving forward, Government's always going to be there to support people in this time of crisis. But absolutely, politics should take a back seat over the next couple of days.
You know, it just occurred to me that this also does inject two figures who were not supposed to be, at this point, at least a few weeks ago, central to this campaign, right into the middle of it. President Joe Biden and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. I am curious, Kate, about the dynamics there. I'm not sure the Harris campaign wants many of these weeks to be about President Biden, but who knows?
Well, so I would actually disagree with that, because I think in these moments where you have government responding to crisis, people working across the aisle, that is actually what people want to see their government doing. You know, I worked for President Biden when he went to Florida in 2022 in the wake of the hurricane there, went to Sanibel Island or nearby, met with Governor DeSantis. They stood together behind a podium and talked about the support for that community. President Biden said, we'll be there. You know, the federal government will be there to help you rebuild. So, you know, these are actually moments where people see their leaders doing the right thing, working across the aisle, responding effectively to a catastrophic, potentially we're looking at a catastrophic situation over the next 24, 36 hours. And I do think that's what people want to see their elected leaders doing.
And the DeSantis angle of it, Scott, is that, Republican voters chose the other guy. They chose the older guy who has a different type of record with natural disasters than Ron DeSantis does.
I know, and during this whole hurricane period, I've heard so many Republicans praising Ron DeSantis. Even Donald Trump has been out there doing that as well. He is an emergency management boss. No nonsense, takes no crap from anybody, tells people exactly what they need to know, when they need to know it. Across the political spectrum, there is widespread agreement that Ron DeSantis is the best emergency management government executive in the country. Thank God he is the governor of Florida right now, doing a terrific job, and we're praying for him and his people.
Ron, Republican voters didn't choose him, though, in the primaries.
They did not, but he's a young man, and I suspect will be around for a long time.
All right, Scott Jennings, thank you very much. Kate Benningfield, thank you.